Everybody. So in the middle in Iboilu, we started a little bit yesterday, or maybe we didn't. Or maybe we did start yesterday, but start again. Iboilu, that's about 6 lines down, 7 lines. Iboilu. So we're talking about the Nam Rasa, which says in order to nullify the Neder, you have to have 2 nullifications, both the father and the husband. The one before till now was about the source, the Manova, how you know that, the more about 2 psukim. And that was how come you have to have each pasuk. Iboilu, Baal Megas guys or Miklas Kodesh. The word Megas guys would mean like to shear, to cut, and Miklas Kodesh means to weaken. So when you have only one of the 2 nullifications, the Gemara talks about the husband, or then the other way, if it would be only the father. So when you only have 1 out of the 2, what could you accomplish? So Chaim David said yesterday a nice thing, that maybe they didn't accomplish anything. Maybe nothing happened. That until you have both signatures, so to speak, so nothing happens. The check doesn't go through, not half, not nothing. But the Gemara doesn't have such a side, I don't know why. The Gemara doesn't have such a side, and the Gemara at the end is going to come out that these 2 studim are opinions that are going to be quoted, but there is no, the Gemara doesn't go into that side of Chaim David. I don't know why. It sounds like a nice thing, and maybe that's why we would have said that if you have to have 2 nullifications, if you don't have both, you have nothing. But the Gemara has 2 choices. Each one, does he cut off half?
And what would that mean for Malchus?
So the Gemara is going to continue in a second.
Oh.
Or does it weaken? Each one weakens it. The whole thing weakens the whole thing. And if you have both weakenings, so to speak, then you finish the nether. If you have 2 halves, how did Machabusa say it? Either 2 halves of the whole, either a half of a whole or the whole of the half. Which one? What is each one doing? Each one is doing a half of the whole, or each one is doing the whole of the half. Either way, however you want to say it. Does each one cut away half of the nether, and if only one of them did it, say cut away half, and the other half still remains, or does each one weaken the whole, and the whole thing, each one weakens it, and if you only have one, so it got the whole thing got weakened but not taken away. And the Gemara explains enough which in our Gemara, which in the Bavli would usually say like my benayu, like what's the difference between the 2 studim. You go in the Nedarim, it trains Asin that she answered herself from 2 olives of a food, whatever it would be. The Shama Orus, and Orus means one of them, either the husband or the father, one of them was Mefer, only his half, and she ate both of them. Yamina and Megas Gaius, Lakya, if you say that each one takes away half, so she still gets Malchus, because even if you take away half of the nether, but she still ate a kazayas of something which is awesome. But if you say that you weaken, each one weakens it, so the whole thing was weakened, and the whole thing was weakened from being Malchus to only being an Israel alone. So that's what the Gemara has 2 studim. Does, I would say maybe in the quantity and the quality, does one of them take away half of the quantity, or does each one take away half of the quality of the whole thing? So that's the Gemara's 2 studim. Does each one cut off half, or does each one weaken? Okay, that's the question. The Gemara is going to bring a sugya that is going to be really on Daf Ayin, means the Mishnah is going to be in Daf Ayin. Here the Gemara goes through all the details, and we're not going to get to the actual proof that the Gemara wants to bring until Samach Tesam Aleph. We're on Samach Tesam Aleph, 68a, and the whole Gemara now plus 68b, which is not so long. All of that, that's not really the subject. Till we get to 69a, the Gemara is going to find a case that's a machlokas. So this is all based on the Mishnah in Daf Ayin that says a concept called nisrokna. Nisrokna means, this word here, nisrokna. Nisrokna means emptied out. And the point is, when you have 2 of these people, the husband and the father, that both of them are supposed to nullify together if they want to. So the question is, if one of them died. If one of them died, so does his authority get emptied out to the other authority? And now the other party is going to have the full authority. So if we jump to Daf Ayin, just to see the Mishnah over there.
Which you did yesterday, but you
Yeah, we did it doing it again. With us yesterday was just a warm up,
Okay.
So here's the Mishnah and the Ayin. Meisa av lo nisrokna b'shus labal. Meisa bal nisrokna b'shus lav. That if the father died, you had a husband and a father of this Naram Rasa. The father died, so it doesn't empty out to the husband. The husband doesn't get whatever the father had, doesn't now transfer to the husband. But if the husband died, it does get transferred to the father. Why that is so? So we'll see the Gemara over there. Why that's so? That's what we don't know. We don't want to know now why. We just want to know what. That here it says that father dying does not transfer his authority to the husband, and the husband is not able to be made. But if the husband died, then his his authority is transferred to the father, and the father is able to be made. Mishnah. That's the Mishnah.
In
And
the
now the
case
Gemara-
that the father wasn't alive at the time, he was.
We'll talk about it now. No, we'll talk about it now. Now we'll talk about. Now we'll go back to the Brisa before. If there was no father, if there's no father at all at the time of there, so then the husband is only authority. But here there was a father and he died, or the husband and he died. They were both were there, and then one of them died. So now we go back to our Gemara. Okay. Tashma. So in short, the Bryce is going to say a lot of cases, but it's going to say that when do we say that if the husband dies, it does transfer to the father? Only if the husband did not mekayem. There's a thing being made for it to nullify a neder. There's also something to be mekayem, to affirm the neder. Pasuk says that if the husband or the father nullify the neder within the same day that they heard about it, so it's nullified. If they're quiet and they don't say anything for the full day, so then it becomes automatically affirmed. And also, if he actually affirms it, he positively affirms it. He says, "I am Makayim, I affirm the neder." So then it's affirmed. So the Bryce is going to say that when do we say that if the husband dies, the father remains with the full authority? That's only if he didn't affirm it. But if he affirmed it, either by positively affirming it, the husband before he died, he affirmed it, or he was quiet after he heard about it, he was quiet for the whole day, and then died the next day. So that's considered an affirmation. So then the father is not authorized now to be able to nullify it. So the Bryce is first going to say a couple of cases where there was no affirmation. Tashma. When do we say that if the husband dies, his authority is transferred, emptied out, transferred to the father? The husband did. One example would be that the husband didn't even hear about it. He didn't hear about the neder. The woman made a neder. Islam Rasul made a neder, and the husband didn't hear about it. Then he died.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't even hear about it. He didn't even hear about the neder. He didn't hear about it. He didn't act on it. He didn't hear about it. He didn't even hear about
It's
it.
different than being quiet.
Yeah, he didn't. Being quiet means that you hear about it and you're quiet. That means that's a kind of a passive affirmation.
Yeah.
But here he didn't hear about it.
He didn't
hear about it, and he died. So
Then it
now
would go
the father has the authority to do it by himself. Oh, they changed the gears over here. Oh, let's do Shama Behefer. Just to skip all around. Oh, Shama Behefer means that the husband heard about it and he nullified it, and then he died.
On that day.
Yes.
He died that day.
I'm just going to read these words. Oh, Shama Behefer.
Mhm.
He heard about it and he nullified it, and then he died.
Mhm.
So then the father is the sole authority now, that if he's going to be made for it, it'll be nullified. The
Like
father can do it by himself.
We saw in the Mishnah.
The Mishnah, it didn't say all these, the Mishnah said that it's in the stroke now. The Mishnah said these words. Let's highlight it. Mace, this is the Mishnah. Mace Habal, the stroke of Mishnah. That was the Mishnah. And now the Bryce is coming to explain, when is that true? Number one, if the husband didn't hear about it, or the husband heard about it and nullified the neder, and then he died. So then the father now is the sole authority. If he's going to nullify it, it's nullified it. He can nullify it. If he doesn't,
As if there were no ball.
right? No difference if there is or not, because if he nullifies it, it's nullified. If he doesn't nullify it, it's not nullified. Right? The father. Oh, Sheshama v'shasat umeis bobiyah. Or if he heard about it, the husband heard about it and was quiet the whole day. He died that day. He died. He didn't quiet though. He died before the day was over. Made bobiyah. So it's not considered an affirmation. We said that to be quiet the whole day, if he's quiet the whole day, then it's considered an affirmation. You could affirm something by actually affirming it, or you could just hear it and be quiet for the whole day. It's also considered affirmed. Here the case was he died within the day. It wasn't considered an affirmation. So all these cases where there was no affirmation, either because he didn't hear about it, or because he nullified it, or because he heard about it and was quiet, but the whole day they didn't pass by. He died within the day.
There was full opportunities. He would have had a chance.
He would have had a
Still
chance,
made
right?
it.
It's not considered an affirmation because the whole day didn't pass by. He died before the day was over. In all these cases that the husband did not affirm it, that's when the Mishnah meant that if the husband dies, the father, the authority is transferred to the father. The father now is the sole authority to nullify it or to affirm it. Aval, Ahmed Beis. Aval, if the husband would have affirmed it, if he affirmed it, she said, he affirms it. He says that he heard the nether of his wife, and he said, I affirm it, or he heard about it, and he lived the whole day, and he was quiet, and he died the next day, it means that was considered a passive affirmation. So then the father is not able to nullify it anymore because the husband successfully affirmed it. So it's not said that it's not that he's out already. He did what while he was alive, he did something. He affirmed it, either positively or passively, actively or passively, that he affirmed it. So therefore, then the father doesn't have the right to nullify it. That's the first part of the brisa. The brisa now is going to say the case of, let's go.
This is the brisa.
This is a brisa which is explaining the Mishnah of when it's nisroken and not nisroken. This is going to be the opposite case, that the father is the one who died. And it says the most extreme case, Shama Avia Beheferla. The father is the one who died over here. The father died. Before he died, he heard about it and he nullified it. This would be the best case. That now he dies. The father heard about it and nullified it.
Yeah, nullified it.
And died. Before the husband even heard about it.
Before the husband even heard about it.
I'm not so sure why the Brisa tells us this part. I'm not crossing it out. I'm just pointing out.
Well, because if he heard about it, then he has to make sure it also.
Yeah, of course, now he's going to hear about it, but the Brisa seems to say that the husband didn't even hear about it until the father died. Interesting, but let's say this is the most extreme case. The father heard about it and nullified it and died. The husband didn't even hear about it. I'm saying the way the Brisa says it, the order is the father heard about it, nullified it, and died, and then the husband heard about it. So we think that this would be the best case. This is the most extreme case, that the father might have a chance, the husband would have the ability to be made, because the father did everything he could in his lifetime. He heard about it and nullified it, and now he died. Okay, so now it's still the same day. Of course, it's still the same day, or the day that he heard it, from when he heard it. Now the husband heard about it,
So now
and
the
he wants to be
husband
made fair.
should be able to.
So we would think that the husband, the father did everything he could,
Yeah.
and the other half says no. That Shama via Vehefala, the father heard about it and nullified it, and the husband didn't even hear about it until after the father died. So you would think, I think this would be the most extreme case. You might think that the husband would be able to be made fair. Says no. Even in this case, also, the husband is not able to nullify it. The father died, the husband does not get the remaining authority.
Why would that be?
The why we didn't have the Mishnah over there is going to talk about, the Gemara over there is going to talk about how come one way it works, one way it doesn't. There's going to be a pasuk, I don't know, but here we're just talking about the what, not the why. So the Mishnah says that if the husband dies, the father does get the authority. If the father dies, the husband does not get the authority. So far, the Brisa said that when do we say that the husband's dying gives the father the authority? Only if he did not affirm it. But if the husband had affirmed it in his lifetime, either actively or passively, so then the father is not going to be able to nullify. That was the first part of the Brisa. And now the Brisa says in the other cases, the case that the father is dying does not give the authority to the husband, is even if the father would have nullified it in his lifetime. He nullified it and died, and then the husband heard about it. Also, he's not an authority, he can't do it anymore. Another case now, Shama.
He's stuck that he can't.
He cannot nullify it. So she has to do another. There's no nullification. She can be mataneder, she can go to the Rav, trying to find the Pesach. Next case, Shama Bala Vehefela. This seems to be repetitious. We said it already before in the beginning cases. Shama Bala Vehefela below Hispin Ka'av Lishmoa Shemesa Bala. This is back to the case of the husband dying, back to the first case.
Yeah.
The truth is, it sounds very, very similar to what we said before. We said there was a case where the husband heard about it and nullified it and died. So we said that it does go to the father. If you just turn back a second, this was this case over here. It said Shama v'Hefer. Didn't it say that? It said the
The
husband
mother,
heard about it and nullified it. That's the case, and died. So the father gets the authority. Here, the Brisa seems to say a chiddush. There's more of a chiddush in this case, that the father didn't even hear about it until the husband died. The husband heard about it and nullified it and died, and then the father heard about it afterwards. So it says over, it seems to be a chiddush. The Rishonim say that it's a chiddush, even though we said it already, we didn't speak out, that it's even if the husband didn't, that even if the father didn't hear about it, till after the husband was mefer. Again, the husband heard about it and nullified it and died, and then the father heard about it. In this case, the father does get the authority.
He has complete authority.
He has authority. The husband, the father, we said even bigger chiddushim over there. The husband didn't even hear about it. Nothing. Here we said that he heard about it and it was mefer. It seems to be less of a chiddush. That the Bryce said before a few cases, the husband didn't hear about it at all. As long as he didn't affirm it, he didn't hear about it, or even if he was quiet, he heard that he's quiet, and even if he heard about it, he was mefer. If he dies, the father does not get the authority. And here the Bryce adds on, even if the father did not hear about it till after the whole thing, there's some chiddush in that. I'm not sure what the chiddush is. Also, as we said before, that the father does get the authority. Zui sheshaninu. Back to the Mishnah again, that says that if the husband dies, the father does get the authority. This case also is included. Next case. Shama Bala Veheferla. Who's going to die over here? The father's going to die in this case.
Well, the husband heard about it, right?
Right. Yeah, but let's get on which category. This is going in the case that the father's the one who's going to die, is going to go to the
father's
husband.
going to die before he heard about it.
So the husband heard about it.
But the father died before he heard about it.
And Shama Bala. The Hefela. Who speak? The father died. I'm sorry. In this case, the father died. Back to the first category of the. We're making a mistake. This is also the father dying. The father dying.
He's dying before he knew that the husband nullified it. Is that what it means?
What happened here? The husband heard about it and nullified it, and the father didn't even hear about it
before he died.
The father died.
Yeah.
What's the case again? The father didn't hear anything. The husband heard about it and was mefer. The father was still alive at the time, but he didn't hear about it. Also, the father dying does not give authority to the husband. The husband only could nullify jointly together with the father, even though this might be the biggest chiddush in this direction, that even though the husband
already was mefer,
and the father didn't hear about it. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know which way is the chiddush. It comes back to be the same thing as the Mishnah said, that the father dying does not transfer the authority to the husband. In this case, the husband had nullified it in the lifetime of the father. I'm not sure if it's a chiddush. I'm not sure. We say these are chidushim. Means that the Mishnah said this general rule. The general rule still stays. In all these cases, we're saying that the only exception we said was that if the husband affirmed it in his lifetime, then it's not going to be able to once he affirmed it, either passively or actively. So then that's what it says on the top line, that then it doesn't quote the Mishnah's case. Otherwise, the Mishnah stays the way it was, that the husband's dying allows the father, it transfers authority to the father. If the father dies, it does not transfer to the husband. The only exception was the top lines over here, that if the husband had affirmed it, so then the father does not get the authority. But this last case over here is talking about, again, that the husband died, the father died, and it does not transfer to the husband.
Wouldn't the chiddush be that the father, even though he didn't hear about it, he has the potential to nullify it when he does hear about it?
But and therefore
that potential is gonna
Might
limit the ball. That's the chiddush.
But it comes out that there's no difference if he heard about it and was Mayfair or didn't hear about it at all. That's what comes out, right? That the father, it never gets transferred to the husband. Both if the case before was that father had heard about it and been Mayfair. What was that case? This was the case out here, second line. Right, this case?
Yeah.
So that was the case that the father heard about it and was
Oh, he went
Mayfair.
ahead and he nullified.
And also it doesn't work. In this case,
I understand that case. This case, I understand.
but that was the big Chiddush before, it seems. That even though
That's a
the
big
father was
difference,
Mayfair,
that's why
still,
I don't understand.
okay, but and this seems to be a smaller Chiddush, but there seems to be a Chiddush here also.
Uh-huh.
So all that is like a pirush on the Mishnah later on, Daf Ayin, which Agav is not going to be there, it's only over here. Interesting that the Gemara brought it all down over here. It's not our subject so much. What the Gemara does want to get to is now Daf Samach
We're
Tesamar.
still on the Bryce.
We're still on the Bryce, and this is really the part that we needed. All this we didn't need for our purposes.
Okay.
Well, it was interesting to learn about Daf Ayin, but now we're coming to the case that's going to be the proof to our question about Megas guys and Miklas Kolish. Now we're getting to it. And this is going to be a case back of the first category of the husband dying. Is it going to be transferred to the father? And we said the whole time, the Mishnah says that it does get transferred. We just had the exception was if the husband had affirmed it, either actively or passively, then the father cannot anymore nullify it. But here we're going back to that category. That's the scenario of the husband dying. Does it get transferred to the father? Here's the case.
If father dies before she makes a neder, does the husband?
Or she makes it.
Does the
I
husband
think-
have any authority?
Imagine
about
that,
that?
I imagine, but but I don't know enough. Here, it did say, oh, how is she gonna get married?
No, well, she's
It might be,
a
it says by Rabbanan
she's a
also.
rusa. She's a rusa, but she's not didn't do Rusun yet.
Right,
And then
so
the father
it sounds like only if there's a father, maybe not, maybe if there's no father in the picture at all, maybe he could.
That was the question.
I've listened pointed out that it's not possible for her to marry if there's no father. The father died before she got married, how did she get married? But I think we
She's
had.
a rusa. She's a rusa.
What was the, so what was the, he's saying that she wasn't a Rusa, but that's that he's saying the nether. She made the nether before the father died before she made the nether.
Yeah.
Also, I happened to just when she mentioned it already, I think that even by Nisu and Rabbanan, even by Ketana, also it says the husband has the right. The Gemara Kasha, based on what? It's only Rabbanan, and I was so maybe so the Gemara says because she does it on the Asbai, but the Gemara I think did say that even by Rabbanan also she could. So it could be right. It could be in this. I don't know the answer. I don't know enough yet. Maybe a lot of it later on we'll see. What's the Tutstadim to say that since there was no father at all at the time of the Neder, maybe the Orus is on his own to be Mayfair. Maybe even in that case, it only with a Shutfus. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Okay, we get to the next case, which is going to be our proof. What does it say on the top of the page? Shama Aviha Behefela. Again, the case is that the husband is dying. The husband didn't hear about it. The father was Mayfair while the husband was still alive. Shama Aviha Behefela. The husband didn't hear about it, he died. But the father was Mayfair in the lifetime of the husband. Anybody have an opinion?
Well, I see what it says.
But what would we think? I don't know what we would think.
Was
The
Mayfair?
father was Mayfair in the lifetime of the husband, and then the husband died.
Oh, this is now a real husband, or this is still ours?
Everything's ours. The father
So we needed both of them. When they were both alive, we needed.
and the
both
husband
of
is
them.
dying.
And the husband now died.
And usually, as a rule, we say, and he wasn't Rakayim,
I
he
thought we
didn't
said
affirm it.
before that it went back. Yeah.
This was really the first case we spoke about. The first case we spoke about was that the husband didn't hear about it. And it says that, and he died. So the father could nullify. He's the authority. That was the first case. If we jump back,
Oh, nobody.
Lo Shama. What does it say? Where's the case over here? Up here it says, Emasai Amu Man Shalo Shama Abal. That's it. It's simple. It seems to say that. Lo Shama, the husband didn't hear about it, then he died. Yeah, it wasn't a fancy case. That the husband, the husband didn't hear and he died. But the father heard about it and nullified it before the husband died. And the husband died, they never heard about it. He died without ever hearing about
So
it.
when he nullified it, he needed the husband's
So there was no heifer.
nullification
At that time, he would have needed the husband.
And
Now the husband's gone. And he wants to do the sole
I
authority.
think that he's stuck,
Why is he stuck?
No, the father
because
gets
you
married.
need the husband also.
Here it said, here in the case, there was a case over here that said, that simply it said the husband died. The husband died over here when nothing happened. Let's say the father also didn't hear about it. Nobody heard about it. And then the husband died, and then the father hears that his daughter made a neder and he wants to
He's
nullify
married.
it.
And we say, and everything goes back, it empties out to the father.
But here it says that if the father heard about it in the lifetime of the husband,
And
and he was
nullified it.
Mefer, and then the husband dies, and now there's a question? Let's see, there's a question. So here it says, Choser ha'av u'mefer chelko shel ba'al.
He has to do it again.
He has to do it again. That's in the regular case, he wasn't made for anything yet. Now he hears about it, and he has both halves, so to speak. Everything's in his jurisdiction, so he's made for. Here the case was he was made for already his half in the lifetime of the husband, and now the husband dies, and now the husband's half is transferred to the father, and he has to be made for that. Okay, so far we don't get excited. I think that the father was made for in the lifetime of the husband, but that only does half a job. And now that the husband dies, that chiluk of the husband gets transferred to the father, and the father's made for that.
Mhm.
Okay. That's outcome the Bryson. Maybe the Bryson continues now. Amrav Nasser. Hein Devi Beishamai. That's only Beishamai's opinion. But Beisil say can't do it. This is worse. The case that the father was made for his chiluk in the lifetime of the husband, even though the husband dies now, and now the father wants to take over and nullify the other half,
Oh, so he's stuck.
he
yeah.
cannot. Why not? That's outcome as the Bryson.
Okay.
Not
It's
Gemara
the,
answer?
Chumer by Beis Hillel.
Yes. Shmamina, the Beishamai Megas Gaias, the Beis Hillel Miklish Kalish, Shmamina. That's the Gemara's proof that there's a machlokas over here. The question we had, Tut Stadim, if each one cuts away half or weakens half, weakens half of the quality. So that's a machlokas Beishamai Beis Hillel. The Gemara sees Beishamai holds that he cuts, and Beis Hillel holds that it weakens. What do you see? What do you see? How do you see anything? So I wouldn't know. I don't know. But Rush explains that. And I wouldn't know why it's so simple. I don't know why it's so simple to the Gemara. Why the Gemara knows it to be so simple this far. But in order for the husband, for the father to sort of inherit the chiluk of the husband who died, he only could inherit if it has some substance to it, if it's a significant thing, that full potency. Then he can inherit it, and then he could.
His nullification was half.
His nullification was half. And let's say
It's a full
Beishamai.
half.
Beishamai will say that he nullified in the lifetime of the husband. The father was successful in nullifying his full half, and there's still a full potent half of the husband that now that the husband died, he inherits it. There's something to
So
grab
he has to
onto,
do it again for that.
and now he can do it again. And he
That's-
has to, and he can. He can.
Yes.
He can. He has the ability to nullify it because he's able to get a hold on it.
Yeah.
But Beis Hillel hold that once the father nullified his chilek in the lifetime of the husband, so the husband, the whole thing, the whole neder is not only half, not two halves. The whole thing became weakened. And now that the husband died, he can't get a hold onto that part that the husband died. If husband had, then he died. It's slippery. It's not something that goes between his fingers. He's not able to hold on to it. It's not enough significant that he can get a handle on it. So he can't yarshin it, he can't inherit it in order to nullify it. And that's called miklish kolish. If it would be that he does talk off half and the other half is as it was, so then it's a full regular half and other that he can take a hold on, and now he inherits that, he gets the transfer of that authorization, and he can nullify it. That's what Beishamai says, that choser avu mefer chelko shel ba'al, because it's a full potent half, significant, substantial half. But according to Beis Hillel, according to the other side is going to be that he can't get a hold on it because it's a weakened authority.
In the earlier case, when nobody had done anything, the Baal died. There,
He could.
it wasn't anything weakened because
Right.
nothing happened.
That's the case
and then
where the
whole
father-
thing fell
right,
over to
right.
him, and now he can be.
Right. Then he could
Mayfair
make for the whole thing. But if he was made for in the half, so he already affected the half that's left over. It's true. The fact that he's going to be made for now also would be that's his. He doesn't have to yarshin it. But the part he wants to get from the husband, he can't inherit, he can't get a transfer on something which is not substantial. So I don't know why it's so simple to the Gemara. Okay, we could understand it, but I don't know why it's so simple to the Gemara that you can't. That must be the Svar of Israel. Why is he not able to do it? Any Yochalaf, and why not? Must be because Miklish Kolish, that by the father having had
Once he started.
Mayfair in the lifetime of the husband, he weakened it, and now that the husband died, he can't get a hold on it anymore.
We had other cases of Miklas Kiddush and the other.
We just started with this question. The question, the Gemara Boilu, Mega's guy is Miklas Kolish. So the Gemara said, Nafkamina would be, does she get Malchus on the one zayis that she ate? If you hold Mega's guy is there is going to be Malchus, which would be a Chumrah Beishama in that case. In this case, it's going to be a leniency, whatever, that he's able to nullify. But in the case of the Gemara started up with was, is it possible, is going to be a Chayiv Malchus? According to Mega's guys, will be Chayiv Malchus, and Miklos Kolish, it wouldn't be Malchus, because you weaken, took off the Chayiv Malchus from the whole nether. And that's the end of the Gemara.
Would it be according to Beis Hillel, if the Baal hears what his Erusa did, and he wants to nullify it, would it be better for him to like go to the father and not do anything until he goes to the father?
Why?
Because then to make sure that they do it together, that it really gets nullified. Otherwise, it's just going to be an issue.
He always has to have, if both of them are living, surely I have to have both of them to nullify it, right?
Yeah, but we had cases where he went ahead and he nullified it, and then then the father hears about it.
And he's still
And I'm
alive.
Mhm.
And what's going to happen when he hears about it? Maybe he wants to go to talk it over with the father if it's a good idea that he should nullify it because the father has his own
Well, I
ideas.
could see, yeah.
He should want to. He should
On
want
the one
to.
hand, if she's over on it, then according to Beis Hillel,
You know, in the case that they died over here, somebody
Uh,
died because
so
of
I'm
the
just
case.
saying, Stam, would Beis Hillel say to the husband, if you want to nullify your betrothed neder, go to the husband, make sure you do it together,
Why?
because otherwise you're just weakening it, and you won't really nullify it if something happens and the father.
You do accomplish what we can. He'll take off the Chiyuv Malchus right away.
But
As
then
soon as
again,
you-
as soon as you do it, you'll weaken it, and then that way, even if the father doesn't agree
If
with you,
you
depends on what you want, I guess.
are you saying that if you're gonna die,
No.
you tell Doris if you're gonna die, then the father's not gonna be able to be made for anymore.
And if the
No,
father dies,
I'm
the
sorry.
father dies,
In
you
your
won't be able
case,
to do anything.
the Rosh has the kasha. Your case, the Raisa before said.
If
See
the
that it's not
husband
the
hears
electricity.
about
Is no electricity going through? I'm sorry, I have to stop a second just to see what's
it,
happening.
Oh, there's no,
Not getting any electricity? Now it is, okay. The case over here was that the father nullified his half in the lifetime of the husband, and the husband died. The father, not you don't want the husband, the father nullified his whatever he could in the lifetime of the husband.
yeah.
And then if the husband dies, the father is not able to get a grab on that part that he already weakened. The Rush points out that there was a case where the husband heard about it and was Mayfair. The husband heard about it and he was Mayfair. So he sort of
Maybe the
weakened.
last case, I thought.
Now the last case, which last case? The case before, on the page before, or right away in the beginning. This case is that
Oh, right here, oh, the father heard.
yeah, the
I'm sorry.
father, father's the one who's nullifying his half. That's the case over here on top of the page.
Yeah,
But the case before, on the page before,
was it the Baal heard?
the father, the husband heard and he nullified. And then he died.
Uh-huh.
So interesting that over there, the father has no problem to be Mayfair afterwards. Because even though it's already weakened, the husband weakened everything. There's a chiluk here if the father weakened it or the husband weakened it. If the father weakened it, so then he can't get a handle to Yarshin the husband's half. But if the husband weakened it,
and-
then it says that the father could. What's the difference? That's the Rosh's kasha.
oh,
And the Rosh seems to say that over there that okay, the terrace to the kasha. Let's leave it at that. But as far as the Gemara, that's the Gemara says is machlokas b'shama b'yisrael. The question was, make his guys make college. The answer is it's machlokas b'shama b'yisrael. According to Beishamai, it's make his guys that is cut. Each one takes away half. According to Beishamai, each one weakens half. And that's the end of that Gemara. New Gemara. Okay, something. New Gemara. Boy, Rava. Yes, yes.
Just back to, I don't have an answer to Chaim David's kasha.
The kasha was, how come you don't say that nothing happened?
For some reason, you see clearly the Gemara saying the two stadim are chal, one is Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, and the third side, for some reason, it's not.
Right, you see from the Gemara that the Gemara presents the two sides that at the end is going to be the actual opinions.
Right.
For
And we
some
know
reason,
that third side.
It doesn't talk about the third side. The Chaim David side, nothing happened. It doesn't have such a side. Why
If you
not?
get anyone, if you get it,
Why
someone gets
not?
the answer, let us know.
Why not say this side that if you don't have two signatures on the check, it's nothing. You don't collect half. A check for $1,000, you need two signatures, so you don't get half. You don't get anything. You don't get nothing. That Miklos covers. I mean, right? The bank says you need another signature. How come we don't say the same thing by this hafara? New Gemara. Boy, Rava. Yesh she'ela b'hakem or ein she'ela b'hakem. So there's a concept called hakama, which in the pasuk of the pasuk you don't see it. That is a way to affirm an eder. The pasuk says that if you're quiet for the whole day, so automatically becomes affirmed. But the Gemara seems to say there's such a thing called actual hakama, that you affirm it. The father or the husband, they affirm it. They say they had the neder of the wife or it's a regular case. It doesn't have to be namarasa. Whenever you talk about hakama, so the husband, he has the neder, so he could nullify it, or he could be quiet the whole day, or he could affirm it immediately. He affirms it. He says yes. And now the question is, could you retract a affirmation? We had the whole thing of Sheila, the Shol on a nether. Someone made a nether, he could retract the nether. He goes to the Rav and he does a Sheila. Sheila means
It's just going to the Rav.
going to the Rav.
And here we have that, let's say the father or the two of them were hakim.
Okay, even talk about regular case now, not even about Oros, even a married woman. That
What is the hakim?
Hakim means that he was kind of the nether. The woman made a nether. Affirmation. To be Mekayim is the opposite of to be
You're talking about a person.
a husband or
Husband of the father.
they have the right to nullify the nether. They have the right to affirm the nether.
They affirmed it, and now the question is, can she go to a Rav?
Not she, no, not she. Is she? He
who?
One of the,
He who affirmed it.
He who affirmed it, can he go to a Rav and say, I want to get out of my affirmation?
yeah, he was in a bad mood, he affirmed it.
She said she's not gonna eat
Okay,
apples.
I see, not her. He.
The one who made the hakama, the one who affirmed it, can he retract?
It probably happens pretty often. He hears her say something stupid. He tells her, you said something stupid, keep it that way. And then he says, no, he wakes up after an hour.
I
and
thought
says,
the other way. I thought he
He has the right to nullify it. He has the right to.
That sounds like it's got problems with Kaddish Kaddish.
No, finish.
No, like a father might affirm it, and then he realized that it's not going to be good for the marriage, and I'm sorry that I did it. Now I want to go to the Rav for Shalom Bayis to nullify.
he makes it.
But surely the day's over. If the day's over.
No,
Calm down.
Same thing.
You take
Oh,
a cup of
yeah.
coffee.
It's after the day, it doesn't help anything because the day passed and it's affirmed.
Right.
Even without actively having affirmed it.
ADHD takes
Yeah, he actively affirmed it and it's still within the day and he wants to nullify it. So he wants to retract from his affirmation. Is there a way to retract a affirmation or is it not possible to? That's one question. Intim Saloma, this stands for Intim Saloma, if you want to say. Even if you say that that it is possible to retract a affirmation, is it possible to retract a nullification? The husband or the father heard the nether and they nullified it. And then they want to retract the nullification. And of course, then to be quiet the rest of the day or to affirm it. Could you do that? Could you retract a nullification? The pasuk talks about a nullification. And it's also a drash to say that you also could be Makai, you also could affirm. We have questions. Could you retract these things? Could you retract an affirmation? Could you retract a nullification? So we don't bring a proof from a brayso. We just say Rabbi Yochanan said so. Rabbi Yochanan said that a person could retract his affirmation, but he cannot retract his nullification. And that's the end of the sugya. Nishalan Allah hakim.
If you want to say that you can nullify,
even if you're going to say that you can, there's more reason to say that you cannot you cannot retract the nullification than you cannot retract a affirmation, which comes out then that's the way it is. You can retract a affirmation, but you cannot retract a nullification. If the husband said, I nullify the neder, or the father said, I nullify the neder, and you want to go, let's go to the Rav and take it back, can't take it back. And it's nullified, there's no neder. But if they had affirmed the neder, and then they have second thoughts and they want to nullify it, so he wants to go in the same day, he wants to go to retract on the affirmation in order to be able to nullify it, so he could.
Oh, you could?
They shall not lahakin.
Oh. You sure?
It's very understandable,
Why?
because afara, it's gone. There's no net anymore.
So I don't think so. I think you're right, but I do think that if you'd be able to retract it retroactively, so there was no afara. You're saying that as soon as you do afara, so then the nether is off, doesn't exist. But I can take that off retroactively. Retroactively,
Who said that goes
it always goes. Shale always goes retroactively. The only way it's not going to be like a short's going to go only retroactively because shale always means that. I never
Enough
could
can
do
be
that.
to be if someone could be matfis. Okay, we're going off this. If someone could be matfis after you do.
Where's the statement?
It's good so far. What's the
Where
matter?
do we end up under that final statement?
Tashma dam Rabbi Yochanan. It's on the screen. Tashma dam Rabbi Yochanan. Ishalan Allah hakim. Ben ishalan Allah hakim.
Yeah, right.
It's two dots like in this print.
Chapter prayed
The two blue dots.
anyone has legal nishmas to print this. Go ahead.
One more Gemara, short Gemara. Boy Rabba, Rabba. Kiyam lechi. He made two. He was Makayim 2 times. I don't know what that is. He said, "I'm affirming it." He affirmed it, a double affirmation.
Let's go or what?
Kaya, which no, lechi
For
is
you.
to you,
To you,
feminine.
to you.
Kayim, we'd say in the Hebrew Kayim lach, that it is affirmed to you. He made 2 affirmations. I wouldn't know that such thing as 2 affirmations, but he made 2 affirmations. So far doesn't make a difference, 1 or 2. He affirmed it, it's affirmed. But then Nishalala Kama Rishona, but then he retracted the first one. Does the second one, but he didn't retract the second one. It's an interesting guy. Like if you want to retract, so retract. I don't know. But he retracted the first one. The question is, does the second one get activated, fall into place? Mahu. Tashma, Rabba, and Nishalala Rishona, Shnia Chalala. So Rabba, it says on the side, we had Rabba already, it was on a few Testament Aleph. We had it before. Over there, still want a Shvua. That someone made a Shvua, 2 Shvuas. And then he was Shoel on the first Shvua. So even though Enes a Chalalisa, that once he made a Shvua, he's not going to eat this loaf. He made a second Shvua, I'm not going to eat the loaf. So nothing happens because he already made a Shvua. It's like Enes a Chalalisa, that once it's already Yosef, the second Shvua doesn't take effect. If he would transgress it, right? If he transgressed the shvuah, he didn't transgress 2 shvuahs, he only transgressed 1 shvuah, because the first shvuah stopped the second shvuah from taking effect.
They have to be exactly the same, obviously.
The same case, yeah, same. But here the case was that he made 2 shvuahs, and then he retracted the first one.
Oh,
So the lacha is Amar Rabim Nishalala Bisham Nishniach Halalam. So it's waiting, like it's hovering above,
right.
and as soon as the first one gets taken away, the second one falls into place. So the same
Oh.
way by shvuah, there's such a thing as being.
Why does
As-
it fall out and why does it proof and disappear?
It doesn't. You see that it's saying that the second one, when you have the first shvuah
Mhm.
and the second shvuah is coming and it can't land. It can't land because something's there already.
Ah.
But it doesn't just go away. It stays over there.
Mhm.
And the first one gets slipped away, so then it falls into place also. So too, by Hakama, the Gemara is comparing it the same way by shvuah, in shvuah, halal shvuah. But if you take away the first one, if you have 2 shvuahs and then take away the first one, the second one falls into place.
Mhm.
So too, if there were 2 hakamas, there were 2 affirmations,
Mhm.
it stays in place, it's hovering over above. And if you take away the first hakama, the second hakama is going to fall into place.
Meaning it's not like Rabbi Yochanan. but-
No, it's finished. That's a new question. There are 2 doubts already. That's Nishalan al Hakim. Now we're going with there is such a thing as Sheila al Hakim, based on Rabbi Yochanan, that there is Sheila al Hakim. What if someone made 2 hakamos, he made 2 affirmations, and then he retracted the first one? Does the second one still around to fall in, or it went away? It disappeared. As soon it never took effect. It never even came into the Messiah. So he says, no, it did come into Messiah, and it's hovering above. And then as soon as this place to land is going to land.
Mhm.
So that's what happens. Just like by Shua, that happens over here also. What
And we're
happens?
talking about a daughter.
What?
Aren't we talking about affirming a daughter's spouse?
Yes, a daughter or a wife
A daughter or a wife, okay.
there's
So
a
he went to the
general-
Rav. What he did wrong was, so to speak, is that he said, I affirmed her vow, and I want you to, and I'm asking you to nullify it. And if he would have said, I affirmed it twice.
Yeah, if he wants to retract both of the affirmations, it's fine, but he
But
didn't,
he
he only
didn't. He
affirmed
just
the
said, I
first one.
affirmed it, and they said, okay, so that's like only one goes up.
Right, and then we find out that he affirmed it a second time, so they say,
You didn't tell us.
you didn't retract the second one.
Okay.
Okay, Adkan.
Yes, Shakar.
Great, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
When we end
Yeah,
early,
now,
maybe you
better
could do
off.
the kumim if you have to, when we end early, if you have time in Kaya.
There'll be nothing left.
So what's the
Yeah,
sequel?
you want
No, no, it's
sequel.
not a big sequel. What is the subject today?
Late.
No, no, no,
Do
it's
the
not.
sequel.
The question was Vegas guys, Miklas Kolos, the answer is Machlokas B'Sham Rebbeinu. That's right, that's it. And now the question was, is there such a thing about being retracting from a Sheila or a Afara? Sheila, yes, Kama, yes, Afara, no. You could retract the Kama, you cannot retract Afara. And if somebody made two Akamos and he retracted only the first one, the second one falls into place and it's still active,
Like a shua.
like a shul.
Maybe when there's extra few minutes, if you have kayak, we'll do a sikum. We used to have that at the
We used to have
beginning.
it, yeah.